What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, taking a look at Stokastic's MLB DFS Lineup Generator for tonight's slate. It is Saturday, August 12th. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Of course, if you have not yet signed up for the Lineup Generator, you can get it for 50% off your first week using the link in the description of this video. If you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitter, it's just on my tweet. You're going to get it for just $4.48 for your first week if you use that link. Still just going to be $8.95 after that. Still a great deal. Every single lineup you're going to get here in the lineup generator has been run through the Stokastic Sims, has been found to be a long-term profitable lineup. All right, I'm going to go look at some DraftKings lineups to start. I'm going to do all stack types, all lineup types, which are going to mix of chalky, balance, and contrarian lineups, not locking anybody in. All right, first lineup we get here, Brandon Woodruff and George Kirby as the pitchers. Let's see how they look in the top pitchers tool. Woodruff second on the board, Kirby third on the board in terms of top two pitcher odds. Woodruff with an 18% chance of being a top two pitcher, Kirby with a 17% chance of being a top two pitcher. And then as far as the bats go, we have a 5-3 Oakland, Kansas City stack here. Not a ton of ownership on these teams. You can see here that this is not on the far chalk end of the spectrum, kind of middling in terms of projected ownership here. Kansas City and Oakland in the top stacks tool. We've got Oakland a little bit far down the board and Kansas City. So two kind of middling, lower teams in terms of odds of being the top stack. But Oakland does have an 18% chance of being the top point per dollar stack on the board. Kansas City also has an 8% chance of being the top point per dollar stack. So two stacks that kind of allow you to pay up a little bit at pitcher. This lineup using close to the full salary after paying up for Woodruff and Kirby. We're using some bats. So some of these bats a bit cheaper. Bobby Witt Jr. up at nearly 6,000, so he's pretty expensive. But we've got 2,000 Lawrence Butler. We've got Blanco at 2,100. Some cheap bats here to offset some of those two expensive pitchers. All right, I'm going to save this one. Next lineup we have George Kirby and Steven Matz as the second pitcher here. Matz down kind of middling in terms of top two pitcher odds, 9% chance of being a top two pitcher. Stacks here, we've got Washington 5-man primary stack, no secondary stack. So in terms of top stack odds, Washington is 7th on the board with a 6% chance of being the top stack, 14% chance of being the top value stack though. So again, we're going to some value stacks in these early lineups. Still projects pretty well though, pretty close to the top and middle of the board in terms of chalkiness. All right, I'm just going to go through and save 20 lineups now, see what my exposures look like after 20 lineups. All right, so after 20 lineups, 55% Brandon Woodruff, 50% Seth Brown. Nobody else makes it to 50%. I think I'm pretty comfortable with this. If I were going to do anything, I might cut back a little bit on the A's exposure, get Seth Brown a little bit lower in terms of ownership, but he's at 50% already. I'd probably be fine just playing this 20 lineup set. It's you're putting a lot of risk on the A's, which is not something that I generally love to do. But in this case, they look pretty good in the top stacks tool. They are a value team that allows you to pay up elsewhere. Seth Brown just 3.4K, looking pretty good here. So probably comfortable with this, but if I were going to do anything, I might cut back just a little bit on my A's exposure here. I'm plenty comfortable with 55% Brandon Woodruff, 45% Tony Gonsolin against the Rockies. Those seem fine to me. All right, I'm going to take a look at some FanDuel lineups as well. Going to do all stack types, all lineup types, not locking anybody. All right, first lineup we see has George Kirby as the pitcher on FanDuel. Let's see how he looks in the FanDuel top pitchers tool. Top of the board, 9% chance of being the top pitcher on FanDuel. As far as stacks go, we have 4-4 Houston, St. Louis. And this one pretty contrarian. Let's see how these teams stack up. St. Louis second on the board with a 10% chance of being the top stack. Houston third on the board with a 9% chance of being the top stack. So two of our top three stacks here and one of our better pitchers. Really nice looking lineup and yet still pretty contrarian. Let's see, we get Chas McCormick at just 5% ownership, Dylan Carlson 4%. Those are the two that are really, and Jose Abreu at 2%. So we have three really low owned bats bringing down the ownership, even though we have two, not extremely contrarian stacks, with St. Louis being the highest owned stack on the board. Houston looks like they're near the top as well in terms of ownership. Yeah, 2 of our top 3 in terms of ownership, but you can still play individual bats within those stacks that are getting less ownership, as you see here with Abreu, with McCormick, with Carlson, with Pena to some extent too. So even though the stacks themselves are not especially low owned, you're getting some low owned bats. That's the nice thing about the lineup generator is it balances it for you. Some chalkier bats who just project really well with some other bats who don't project quite as well, not getting as much ownership, a little bit more contrarian. So you get some nice lineups, nice balanced lineups here in the lineup generator. This one on the contrarian end of the spectrum, despite being 2 of the better projected stacks. So it looks really nice. Second lineup here, we get Zach Gallen as the pitcher. Third on the board with an 8% chance of being the top pitcher on FanDuel. And then it's a 4-3 Pittsburgh Milwaukee stack. Pittsburgh kind of middling here, 7th on the board with a 5% chance of being the top stack. Milwaukee 4th on the board, 6% chance of being the top stack. All right, I'm just going to go through and save 20 lineups. Look at our exposure. 60% Mookie Betts, 45% Freddie Freeman, 40% Joey Manisi. So we don't have any pitchers at the top. George Kirby, our highest exposed pitcher at 35%. Totally comfortable with 35% George Kirby. I think I'm comfortable with these bats too. If you're going to get 60% of anybody, I don't mind it being Mookie Betts, 45% Freddie Freeman. So I think I'm comfortable with these. Looking at, again, the Dodgers, top of the board in terms of top stack odds. So getting overexposed to those bats is not the end of the world to me. I think it looks pretty good. I'd probably be comfortable just running this 20 lineup set. If I were playing 150, I would certainly want to cut back my exposure here, probably get below 30% of any individual bat. But in just 20 lineups, I don't mind being a little bit more condensed. All right. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Again, if you haven't done so, please do hit that like button. Helps us out quite a bit. Good luck today.